Something of note, I guess, that's unique to these double bits, specifically older versus the newer. A lot of people, the old adage is that newer axes, newer things have gotten better over time. But there is a different set standard for older axes that kind of didn't translate to now. So this is an old Collins, and you can kind of see that the bevel doesn't go to a thick taper on the edges here. It kind of just comes to a thin grind here, and I measured it out with my bevel gauge, and this is the thick side. And even the thick side, if you were to take the bevel down here and here, you would end up with a 15-degree grind, which is pretty nice for some axes. Now, this is a thin side, and you can see it's pretty small. It's gonna come down to um, it's gonna come down to be a nice chopper. But so this would probably be a later style Collins. You can see there's you can kind of see there's blue paint and there was a sticker on the end here. I really don't know which era to date this to. I do know that they used blue paint for a long, long time. So the and the so I guess like newer axes, especially like if you go to like a Grand Force or trying to think of other axe makers, Council Tool. The only problem that they have is that they taper their grinds on the axes, and the axes come to about like it's a nice convex shape, or would it be concave? No, convex. They have a convex grind here, so instead of being thick right here in the cheeks, which is a lot of older axes used to do that, so that you would kind of come to a wedge shape. And so I have a Man, Lewistown, Pennsylvania knot clipper right here. So this is another double bit, and you can kind of see on the shadow line of the bevels here how even though that top line it comes to a thin taper, the inside of this is more closer to a wedge than if anything, and it's very thick. The whole point of these axes is that the reason they would do that is so that you could clear chips easier, because the thicker axe would force the chips to leave the wood of what you were chopping. If you were chopping a log, if you were bucking a log, if you were chopping a tree, the thickness of the axe would allow for you, so you'd come to a 15 degree on the grind, and then the thick axe would essentially force the chip out. So essentially, if you were to give this a more like, this would be thicker here. As it enters here, it would be pushing apart the wood. Hard to show on a camera here without like a piece of paper. Other people have talked about the grind of these axes, but this would chop very well, but it would stick here too. So it was really an efficiency thing. You would keep more steel on these axes, but you would gain a couple advantages. But so that's just all I was talking about here. It's just kind of showing off the interesting thing about these the later more modern styles of axes. I still think I heard that some axe makers still do it, but some axe makers still do it, but it's very far and few between. Even the more premium ones, they kind of get away with they don't get away with it. That sounds too mean. They just use the convex grind, probably because it's the standard. So it's gonna chop more, but it's gonna stick more. That's the whole point of this. Anyways, I was just trying to detail it.